This DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Good evening. Welcome to another Monday night. Thank you very much for taking time. It is the new year. It is 2023. Hopefully you're not still writing 2022 on everything. You know, well, John is, but that's because he's still stuck in the 90s. But for the rest of us, thank you very much for fixing
83, 84, I realize where I'm stuck. I haven't left that era, so I still am wearing
That's why he considers that one band from San Francisco to be the only band he ever knew of.
The most epic?
I didn't say that.
Epic.
Not even close. John is. But no, we do appreciate everybody taking time. I know like half the country probably is like watching us with the TV on, watching some football game. But for everybody else that's doing like full attention here, whether it's replay or not, it's awesome that you're joining us.
So I just put the URL for the YouTube. If you're watching it out on Facebook and you want to join where the main chat is that we're going to be kind of following, that is where it would be, that one that it should have just shown up in line tonight. So excellent. Cubby, you're back with us again.
Yes, it's great to be back.
It's good to have
not
you.
in Chicago this time, back at home. And
yeah. Yes, you are home, rested, and ready for 2023.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Excellent. So tonight, guys, I wanted to kind of dig into this just a little bit because this is something that we constantly are seeing online, and we're getting to that point where it's booking season, then it's planning season, and it kind of goes from one to the next. And because today's couples are getting information in different ways than it used to be. And what do I mean by that is that at one time back in history, as you go back even grandparents' age, is that people basically had similar experiences when it came to the release of information. And let's specifically look for the release of music. They would have not known a musical act existed unless they came to their town, if we really go a ways back, or when the music, moving ahead, when the records came to the record shop, or the magazines made it in and showed you. You didn't know things existed. So people could have in a region or an area could have a somewhat homogeneous experience when it came to music. Then radio came in. That didn't change that too terribly much. It might have expanded the little offering of music. There were different stations and different genres, but people really, if they were into top 40 and they were in this part of the world, they probably were listening to very similar songs. Those days are over, and today there's things and songs and requests and things coming from everywhere. So we're going to dig into that a little bit tonight and try to give you guys some ideas and tips. There's some thoughts of our experiences, good and bad, on how you can handle that, because it really can make or break an event depending upon how you handle it. So should we introduce the Things Cubby Hates segment, or is that...
I almost led with that tonight. I almost did. Like, instead of making fun of Johnny, I almost was going to, retitle the show, but I'm glad John did.
Oh man. Yeah, let's start wherever you want to kick off.
So let's get into it. This could be our weekly or every time we're doing the show segment here. Things that just get under Cubby's skin. The little things that are like fingernails on the chalkboard. And go, Cubby. What is it tonight?
Oh man, tonight I think sometimes it's TikTok trends, things that a bride sees in a TikTok that might not even be in the U.S. It might be in another country, but it's just trending right now. And things that work on the East Coast may not work in my locale in the Midwest, or something they see in California may not translate well to their friends and family here in the Midwest that don't know that song or particular genre of music or type of a thing. So I'd have to say TikTok trends and TikTok songs are like 15 seconds, right? That's all they want to hear, that song. So then you got to, you quick mix out, but you can't quick mix out in 15 seconds. So then you're playing like all the songs and stuff that they don't hear, that they don't know, or part because they only know the hook type thing. So it's interesting.
So I get two things to put to that. One of them wasn't a TikTok, and I think the second one is an experience where the bride, when they saw the video from Forever, the wedding party introduction from Chris
Brown.
Gosh, you'd think that would be easy enough to remember. If you guys haven't seen it, there was a wedding party where they came in and they were doing this really fun thing to Forever. It was a neat little YouTube video, which today's world it would be a TikTok video, no question about it. Now I had a bride who was like, she thought that was the coolest thing and she wanted to recreate that. The problem is that her wedding party had people who had no talent and no rhythm whatsoever. So it was sad and pathetic. And I literally, during the practice time, they walked through and they were doing a little wiggle and such. And she's like, "Save the good stuff for the ceremony. Don't do it all now." No, that was the best that they had, was during that little, and it was really sad and pathetic. I mean, it was like, yeah. So that was one example. Second one was one that happened at one of the weddings this fall, where they saw the trend, and I don't know if it came from TikTok, but it was another video trend of having a flower guy or flower dude, where the gentleman, 30-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever, but he's the guy doing the flower, and he comes down and he does his thing, and he's dancing and having some fun. And the bride wanted to have that, and she had him picked, and he was the fun guy in the wedding party, and he was going to, she had this vision. She was telling me how he's going to do this and he's that, and she thinks he's going to have some couple of beers stored in there, and he's going to have this whole, that he's going to be able to replicate, and it's going to be so awesome. Well, she didn't realize that he's fun in ones and twos and threes, but when you put 200 people in chairs, he clammed up and I've seen 4-year-olds who have more personality going down there than he did. He was basically just there and he waved a little bit and that was it. It's like, wow, that was painful. It's like the Water Days princess in the float in a parade type of thing with the that kind of thing, really kind of bad. So they see these things and they think it would be great, but it doesn't work for most everyone.
Yes.
I would say,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I totally get that, but I will say I have seen it work, and I have seen it kind of work even better than the videos that I saw. So
nice.
So not this past September, it would have been September of 21. So that was, again, it was shortly after the beer guy, the flower dude, whatever you want to call it, had it. And what they decided to do was actually have 2 of them. And I think that also kind of helped because it was a little bit different. But they pulled a wagon. They had seltzers. They had little airport mini bottles, and they went nuts with it. And the music they chose was a little bit different than what the original was. So they kind of made it their own, which I think is going to be the key. If anybody's going to do something like this, if you got couples that are coming to you saying, "Hey, we want to do that," I don't want to say you necessarily want to deter them, but look for a way that they can completely make it their own, because when they get so stuck on trying to recreate it, they get stuck in the mentality of, I got to do it exactly like this. Where if they find a way to make it their own, then they're just finding somebody who's fun, who's outgoing, and can do whatever that might be and kind of feed off of each other. I will be honest, I was very hesitant when the ideas of these guys throwing out these little mini bottles and the seltzers and everything else. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. And when it did, it erupted. Everybody had a blast. The officiant even just got in on the fun. He was like, "Toss me one." Like, it was just completely enjoyed every moment of it. And it can be good, but I will say with John that, you got to give some caution.
Yeah, you got the person's got to have a great personality. Same as Dan, we had a couple this season. guys had great personalities, really worked well. It was, but then again, there's no surprise to it anymore because everybody's seen on video. So there's the shock factor is not there as well.
But I think Dan had two really great points with it. Having two people, so then there was the work and the banter, even if it's just visual banter, that was there, and then to make it their own. I think those 2 points, when you have that bride who says, or groomman's like, this is what we're going to do and it's going to be great. Hey, just a couple of things that, this, and those little suggestions could make it going from being a neat thing to make it something that people may have expected something that's going to happen, but it could be so unique that people are like, we've never seen anything like that, even though it was taken from the idea from a different location.
Well, a lot of these couples want to have their viral moment, right? They want to have this piece that, whether it's in the ceremony, the reception, or just some moment, they want it to be viral. They want people talking about their day. The problem is that they decide to recreate something that somebody else did. And I mean, like, physically, like, go, okay, at this point they did this. At this point they did this. Like, try and make it exactly like the other thing. It's not going to go viral because you're doing the exact thing that already went viral. You need to make it unique. It's got to be completely different. I shouldn't say be completely different, but it's got to be different enough that people are going to want to go, oh, that was cool. Yes, it came from this, but that was a cool idea. That was a cool version, a cool remix, if you will, of what we already saw.
Cubby, have you ever had anyone, when Dan used the phraseology of they wanted something viral, I've actually had couples mention or use that word in our conversation. Have you ever had any couples that have wanted to kind of create a viral moment?
No, we're in Iowa, so we're always 2 years behind. So we're still, they've never came to me and said we want to do something viral. That they want to make a viral moment. It's just they want to have a good time or whatever, but nothing. I guess I don't do any TikTokers or weddings, or I've not done any this season. Or I talked to my daughter prior to the show and see if she had any as well, and kind of nothing. They want to recreate some things, but nobody's ever come to us and go, we want to make a viral moment.
See, and I think the one that probably I've experienced the most is a combination, either the wedding party introduction or trying to do something fun there that they've seen to recreate. But most of the time what has come back around again is that those goofy first dances or the father-daughter dance where they're wanting to have the song, an edit of it. So they're going to do a few seconds of the YMCA, then we're going to do a few seconds of the cha-cha slide, then we're going to do a few seconds of this one. And they want to have this little mash of songs put together so they can do all their evolution of dance type thing. And that's what they've used as the terminology for viral. I mean, I've got one that she just messaged a few days ago from an upcoming summer wedding, and she's like, "Can we do that?" It's like, well, yeah, we could if you want to be like 2005, whatever it was, whatever year it was, early 2000s. We can certainly do it if that's something you want to do. But why? What's your reasoning behind it?
I had read recently, I would say within the year, not this year, but the last season, she did all three, where they all did special dances. So the mother-son did one, the father-daughter, and the bride and groom did one. And that's just, to me, one and done. You don't need to do it, recreate 3 times because you're not shocking anybody.
So all three had a goofy.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm curious with both of yours, because, John, you started going down this path, and then Cubby, I want to get your opinion, too. First off, John, for the one coming up this summer, did you ask them why? Why they wanted to have that moment?
Yes, this is a Bill Herman thing, that he is a big one on asking why, and I did. And it turns out that where it comes from is that when that came out, that her dad did those. He memorized the dance of all the dance moves and such, and he was doing that. So now we have something that dad is a wannabe evolution of dance person type of thing. So now we can work with that and maybe change some of the songs, or maybe we can add a couple of things or whatever we want to do, but we can do something that's going to focus more on dad rather than a reflection back to that moment, especially if there's an aspect or two of that little progression of songs that doesn't fit him well. But
and I think a good MC at the very end. For those who knew John, knew this was his favorite thing all time, 20 years ago or whatever, and bring it back so they knew why they did it.
Yep.
Not just doing it since it's so 2005, so that they knew that this guy, the dad, was a huge fan of this, and they want, he's been wanting to create it since she was 8 years old or something.
I found that one of the things that gets interesting, a lot of times when I get this, we want to do something different regarding let's focus on the father-daughter, because for whatever reason, that's the one that seems to happen more often than not with this, like the evolution of dance idea. It comes from the fact that dad feels that he's awkward and can't slow dance with his daughter. Or sometimes I even get that there's not a real close relationship between the two of them. They still want to dance, but they don't want to have that slow, I got to stand there and talk to you for 2.5, 3 minutes. But if we do this, everybody will laugh and have a good time. And yes, they'll be watching us, but we're going to control the watching.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like it puts them a little bit more in charge of it. And I think there is some benefit to that type of thinking, because it does give them that kind of leeway out. I will actually say, it's also been interesting to see certain ideas develop. So I had a couple this past October. It was one of my reels on Instagram that has gotten more random likes and everything than anything I can recall ever doing on any social media, like to that extent. And what it was a mother and son dance where they attempted to recreate the scene from Pulp Fiction. The scene with John Travolta in the restaurant, and they came, dad and daughter dance kind of did their own thing to a Billy Joel song. It was romantic, but it was a choreographed dance, but it wasn't like the evolution. It was really neatly done. While they were doing that, the groom and his mom were out changing into their costumes. Like they changed and put on the attire, wig, the bowline tie, like the whole 9 yards. Came out. I lost it. As soon as they came out, everybody was laughing. They got in pros. I hit the play. I recorded it, just back and forth. Thing was getting likes out of the crazy. But again, it was this idea they wanted to do something different, and they didn't want to be up there for 2.5 minutes just slow dancing while everybody watched.
Sure.
And they didn't want to invite other mother sons or father daughters. Like they wanted their moment, but in their own comfort.
I had a girl request the Pulp Fiction song the other day. No, I'm kidding. Says she saw it on Instagram. No.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I did mine, and then it was 2 weeks later, maybe. Who was it? Was it Alex Knapp or Digital Dave? One of those two, I think, had a couple who did not the exact same thing, but again, attire. Yeah. And it was almost like when it happened, I even posted, I'm like, is there a trend here that I don't know about? Because this kind of it seemed isolated, and then you suddenly have this other one, and it's like, and even my mother and son, I was like, oh, is this like a song for you guys? And they're like, no. In fact, mom was like, I've never even seen the movie. Okay.
That's funny. That is funny. But I think that you made a great point there, Dan, with the idea that there's a lot of times where the father or daughter, they want to do something, they just don't, that viewing. I think that giving that, having options available that you can kind of say, hey, here's what others have had an experience who didn't want that. Mr. Leinster is with us. Mike, thank you for joining us. But he mentions on Facebook there that that's why many times are asked to shorten that father-daughter song to do a quick edit of it, so it's like a 90-second long song, just long enough to everybody. It's father-daughter dance, and that was the father-daughter dance, that kind of a thing. And that happens, and that works for some couples. But I could definitely see the idea of doing something funny that people will laugh at and laugh about. I mean, that's kind of what Lori did with the mother-son dance with Brandon. Not that she didn't care about the slow dancing or anything. They were absolutely fine with that. But she wanted to basically do something fun. So what she did is when Jeremy went to go start the mother-son dance, he had a upbeat song, and they did their little thing to it, and the crowd just absolutely loved it. And then after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, went into the actual slower song. But it was something that was kind of it fit them for what they were doing, and they had some fun with it. So sometimes they want to do something fun because of the not wanting to be the center of attention, and sometimes they're comfortable with it and just want to do something silly.
So going back to the gentleman in the Facebook chat that said, shorten the song. Other things I've done when they don't have a great relationship or they don't want the spotlight on them is I invited all the fathers and daughters out and all the mothers and sons after 45 seconds where they've got the photos, everybody's cool. And then you invite all the fathers and daughters out to join the bride and her dad or their mother, son. And that's a pretty, I've done that. And it's pretty cool to see the generations out there as well. So there's just an alternative as well to, if they don't, trust me, I've got a great shortened edit of My Wish. It's not 4.5 minute songs. It's every mother's son song in the world, My Wish generally, right? Yeah. So wait for something to come around that's going to be a little bit better. But I've got a great shortened version of that in case we want to if I need to shorten it out. So
I think one of the other things that you can do with it, or one of the other ideas, no matter what idea that's out there, whether it's the short edit, whether it's the evolution of dance, whether it's just a special choreograph that they want to do to this, I know some DJs are very hesitant to make the mixes and kind of share it out or whatever with the couple, but they need to practice. Straight up, they just need to practice this because and DJ Mikey Mike in the thing said he has his niece had the DJ do a quick mixes at her wedding, and today she still regrets that 15 to 30 seconds of a song killed the night. I don't know if it was quite to that degree, but I've had the couples who wanted to do this, but when they started it, after about 30 seconds, you recognize they never practiced this. Or if they did it, they practiced it like once. And like one is leading the way and the other one's kind of like
watching, yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna do this move. Okay, now we're gonna do this move. Okay. And like that's the way it goes. And it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't go over well, it doesn't have the impact that it could just by saying, listen, you've got to practice. And I tell my couples also, and this is kind of a side shoot, but in the planning meeting, I'm like, listen, the week of your wedding, put your first dance song on. Just dance in your apartment, in your house. Just dance. Just enjoy the moment here and just dance. Because when you do it on your wedding day, everybody's going to be watching you, and you're not going to be able to kind of maybe appreciate it the same way. If you listen to it now, even if you're not doing anything special, it gives you a little bit more comfort level for later. And that kind of thing that practice element can just make a huge impact on any piece to the day.
So I'm laughing because I created a mix for the bride and groom to use. Got it to them plenty of time to use it. One thing they did not take in consideration was the venue having low-hanging cafe lights. And one of their songs was Move On, Make a Man Out of You. And right when that saying come on, I threw them 2 broomsticks so they could do the Move On. And he wiped out an entire string of cafe lights right in the middle of the dance. So, yeah, it was hilarious because, like I said, they were using the sticks. They're going back and forth and just whoosh, all these cafe lights came down. And like, they practiced and they did look good, but they failed to take into consideration the low-hanging cafe lights in the middle of the Make a Man Out of You by Move On.
And that's a great...
Things you can't practice for.
But that's a great kind of a thought. Now, we're talking about different things that people have seen, want to have at their wedding, and that becomes another limiting factor. Is not only do they may not have the right people for it, they may not have the right situation, whatever, but they also there may be limitations due to the venue. That hey, I want to have this, I want to see my face up on a 20-foot screen, and you have a room with 8-foot ceilings. There's going to be some physical limitations, and they've seen it. They want to have it. I mean, how do you talk when you know it's just not going to work, or oh well, that's a blank wall. We'll just shoot, and you can have this big screen over here on this blank wall. Yes, but there's going to be people standing in front of that wall, or there's going to be chairs there, and it's not going to. Oh, it'll be fine. We'll still enjoy it. No, you won't enjoy your slideshow when there's Uncle Fred and Aunt Wanda are there, and they're eating and you've got your slideshow over top of them. So how do you handle those situations when you just know that what they're looking for just is not going to be able to function?
Dan, you want to take that one or start?
I was going to have you go first on this one.
All right.
I want to hear your ideas.
So, at the final of our consultation, after we kind of go through everything, if they've created a playlist, we kind of go over the songs, what would work better for, what would work better for a cocktail hour, those mid-tempo songs that people don't know how to dance to. And just say, look, I think you kind of, do you take requests? I'm like, well, if you want me to, I can. And I always share with them, you hired me just like you hired the person to make your cake. And you said you wanted a chocolate cake. You're not going to give that guy all the recipe to make that cake. You're going to trust that chef or that baker is going to make the best cake there is. I'm that baker. So you're going to give me some ingredients or some flavors that you want, and I'm going to create the best cake for you. And so that's how I kind of share with them in an analogy way that, I've been doing this for a lot of years and we know it works, and share with me what your family, because you see you got Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire on here, and that generally doesn't work for a lot of families. It's just not a real shaker mover. Grandpa's favorite song. Oh, okay, cool. Let me see, what's Grandpa's name? Which Grandpa likes this? So if it's a must play, I would have set it up by going, Grandpa Steve, where you at tonight? It's his favorite song. Let's get me on the dance floor with Grandpa Steve. And then people will join in. If I just played Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash, go, what the heck is that guy playing? So I think there's some setup to it, and finding out, like the old, like you said, Bill Herman's why this song, and a request a couple years ago, they wanted to honor Grandma. Grandma had gone on, had passed, and I'm like, that's a great idea. We got to play your favorite song. Great. What's your favorite song? I thought it was maybe going to be Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, maybe something from the 60s. No, it was AC/DC, Highway to Hell. And, I was saying Grandma on her way to Highway to Hell. So once again, you got to set it up. So you're like, if you knew Grandma Sue, you knew this was her favorite song, and every shooting requested at every wedding. So let's honor Grandma Sue tonight and get everybody on the dance, and we'll play her song. And then you hit it, and then it goes. So I think some of those things can work if you know the why and you can set it up. But just to arbitrarily drop something, and not set it up, I think sometimes can be kind of weird.
Very true.
When you have those moments that they're really struggling to, or I shouldn't say they're really struggling, but they suggest something that you are just struggling with because exactly like you said, John, like it's not going to work. There's going to be some limitation in some form or fashion that's going to get in the way. Not that you can't set it up, but that you could set it up 100% beautifully, but the idea is just, it's a train wreck because of some limitation somehow.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, as you said multiple times, we ask that why. Why is this that you want to have, the 20-foot slideshow, right? Like what is that you're really trying to achieve here, and really get to that why. And because oftentimes by asking them why, like the one thing I always worry about when I ask why is that they're going to think that I'm challenging them on their idea.
Right.
But if it's a bad one, I'm okay with that. Right? Like if it's a bad idea, I'm okay with asking the why so they challenge themselves, because I want them to think about, is this logistically possible? Is this something that we should do, can do, want to do? Or is this, it was an idea that I had. And a lot of times I wouldn't say, I don't know where I'd put that percentage at, but I would say a vast majority of the time when I've asked that to those situations where, they just really didn't know, or that their idea wouldn't work, and I asked the why. Like, well, we were riding in the car and we got talking and we thought it would be this great idea. Oh, so this really isn't that important to you? Like, I don't ask it in that way, but that's the gist of the question I'm asking. So this really isn't something that's really important to you to make sure 100% that we have happen. No, why? Well, because here's the thing. Where we're at, I've been in this venue, and it's not going to work. We can do something else. We can take that idea and we can form it to make it work here. But that idea in the original plan that you're thinking is going to happen, it just won't. It's not something that let's find another way around it. And a lot of times the couples are like more, I don't say they're relieved or anything like that, but it just puts them in a completely different mindset because then they're like, oh, okay. And like I said, it's usually not an idea that they're sold on. It's just an idea that they had and they thought, why not? Let's make it happen at our wedding.
I've seen where they've seen it one time at another wedding, and what works for that group of people might not work for their family and group of people because it's a completely different. Which once again, either sees it on TikTok or sees it somewhere else. It just may not work for their group or their crowd. You know, you're dealing with a bunch of people that play video games and introverts. They're not gonna be all excited about doing this particular dance or something. You know, so let's not force them to do that.
That's an interesting idea. You bring that up about introverts, and this was a discussion that we were having about the week or so ago. Is because of today's world, it seems that everyone knows exactly if they're an introvert or an extrovert. Everybody knows it. So now they've defined almost the roles that they need to play when they're out in public. Oh, I'm an introvert. I'm not going to be out there. You know, I can't go out there on a dance floor and do that kind of stuff. I'm going to be, just kind of over here in a corner, and I'm not going to come out of my shell. And we were wondering is because of them, people defining themselves, and they can go to these Facebook groups where there's all those introverts from all over the world sharing the same kind of, I'm going to stay in my closet and be happy memes. Are we going to make it even more difficult to get people to participate and be that fun party crowd? Like last weekend's wedding where the bride saw that and wants that to be at her wedding this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, but a whole different group of people there.
Yeah.
A whole different group of bridal party. And they're, so yeah, it all depends. And, I share that and talk to my, at the end we have that, at the very end, and we've kind of covered everything. I start asking them questions. Are your families big dancers? What works for them? Do they like line dances? Do they not like line dances? Do they, what gets them to move? Well, no, my family's not, but my friends are. Okay, so now going into this, I'm not going to beat myself up on the way home going, why couldn't I get that older crowd out there? Well, they're farmers in overalls. They just don't, they just don't dance. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna beat myself up for the next 2 hours, on the way home, on the next day, going, what could I have done better?
Yeah.
I used to ask a question. So a friend of mine suggested this idea for my planner, and I asked it for the longest time, and then I got away from it. And come to think of it, I probably should put it back. But it was on a scale of 1 to 10. Where do you see your crowd as far as dancing? 1 being they're not going to move out of their seats for anything, no matter what I play. And 10, I could play the worst song ever, and they're going to be rushing to the dance floor. Like, where do we find that they're in? And it was amazing the number of couples that would be 6 or 7s, and I would then turn around and later say, oh, that was an 8 or a 9. And then every once in a while it'd be the other. And I would always explain to my couples, like, listen, there's a reason why I'm asking this. Like, I want to know exactly as Cubby said, do I need to beat myself up or work extra hard? Like if I start playing, if you tell me this is a crowd as an 8 and I'm playing a lot of stuff and I'm not getting them out of their seats, what do I need to do? What 180 do I need to do to try and pull them in a different way? But if you tell me they're a 3 or a 4, then I'm looking for other ways for them to be entertained.
Right.
Yeah.
The dance floor is not going to be their entertainment. Their entertainment is going to be that ambiance, that mood, that reason why they're there, and it's not the dance floor.
And maybe a little more games. And when I say games, I don't mean like, hide and seek, but, like the Shulywed game or something that we could drag out, a little bit less dance time where you could just make memories that way as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Hide and seek would be kind of fun. Where's the bride now?
Where's everybody on the dance floor? Come back out. We're all yelling action for you. Come on.
Well, yeah, we say that, but the funny thing, and I know we're jesting as far as hide and seek, but if you want to create a viral moment, take a kids game that you would think maybe not directly, and find a way to put a wedding twist on it. If you get the right couple to jump in on that, you could have the next trend very easily. I mean, think about it. Like I don't know, maybe now 8 years ago, I did musical chairs. Somebody saw the idea somewhere, YouTube or something at that point, and it was this musical chairs, and we did a musical chair scavenger hunt.
Oh, I do that almost every wedding.
It went over huge.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, at least the time that when it came about, it was something I had never even really heard of, and we just ran with it.
Nice.
I did a lot of corporate events really early, but within this year, this year and a half, it's been trending hard for us as far as you're doing the scavenger up for in lieu of the dollar dance, and it's very comedic. I get a lot of requests for it, and they say it's very humorous. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's been, I don't know. I have a chick that goes with it that makes it a lot more fun than
Sure.
this old regular one.
So, John, I'm curious then. Going back to your piece, so like I shared how I kind of avoid and what I really have gotten into. Have you run into any where they're just like, no, this is an important idea, we must have this, and it's just not going to work?
Never to the point of where we were going into it with that it was just you're dreading it because it's going to fail. There have been many times where they've asked couples have had an idea of what they wanted to do, and it just wasn't going to work. And we were able to find a way, and generally asking the why. And the one specific with the screen idea, there was a variation. I mean, it was a little more dramatic from what I was saying as far as I overdid it. But they wanted to. They felt that having one screen where everyone could share that moment on the same screen was important to them, because they wanted everyone to be able to see the slideshow at the exact same time. And then we started looking at the room, and then we started, it's like, so half of the way your tables are set up, because it was 8-foot banquet tables, half of your guests are faced that way, and then the other half are faced this way all the time. So they're going to have to turn around, and then that person's got to look through this person to see a screen, because we do have fairly sure. Would we be better off having putting 4 smaller screens in the room? They can all be seeing the exact same thing. They're just not all looking at the screen, but their sight lines are going to be so much better by having the multiple. Looking for an alternative that worked and still was able to achieve what they were wanting to do, because I don't know if she was thinking that if we were doing TVs or smaller screens, if they were going to be, like 4 different VCR type of things where they were going to be at different times, or what. I guess that part I never got. It was just finding out that she just wanted it so everyone could see and everyone could experience it at the same moment. Well, that can be done in multiple ways.
I think in a lot of times in that situation, the ideas that they avoid are because of the experiences that they've had. So not to speak to this couple, because obviously I don't know them, but if my experience, or the reason why I'm avoiding, a bunch of smaller screens, is because in my corporate world, anytime somebody brought a TV in for us to watch some video, it rolled in on a cart. You know what I mean? Like that's the impression I have when it's a TV. Or, my impression of a TV is what I have in my living room. And if I think about taking my TV that's in my living room and putting it in this big banquet hall, that looks kind of tiny. And I want to be big. I want it to be impressive, right? I want to see that. And so I think there's a lot of times the reasons for their whys come from a place of where they've been, and that's not a bad thing. It's just oftentimes why you need to ask the why, because you don't know the experiences that they've had. We all know what DJs are capable of, right? We all know what some of the biggest outlandish type of impressive displays that there can be out there, because we've seen them all over. So we know that, listen, we can make this look like that. But their impression is, oh, when I hear it, it's really going to look like that. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be able to kind of help them get to the process of what's going to be best for what they're picturing.
To achieve the outcome. We have the tools, this is what we have for people, and these are the resources, and how can you put this all together to make?
And don't forget cost, because when you're bringing in 3 additional TVs, that change obviously is going to change substantially.
Yeah,
it's the number of hours and the cost of bring additional equipment in. So then I don't know. For me, it becomes, do they really want to pay for something like that?
Very true.
Well, and sometimes that may have been, that could be the reason why they had this idea of, well, listen, if I only project once, I'm only paying once, versus, you need to do all this, so it's going to cost me. Like you're trying to get me to do more. You're trying to get me to do more stuff.
I always tell them, I'm going to treat you like my daughter. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this, and you're going to make a decision. I'm going to tell you the pros of this and the cons of this, and this is what it's going to cost, and this is what you can do. But in the end, you're going to make a decision, but you got to be happy with it. But I'm letting you know going forward, this is what can happen. So
We just had
Sorry, we're
we
dealing with some stuff.
yeah, we got a spammer on YouTube right now that just popped up. So
Fun.
yeah, it's getting taken care of.
Yep.
So let's spend a couple minutes talking about music, because this we've talked a lot of different aspects of it, and let's hit the music side of it, because today, kind of back to that story, there's many resources and many sources for information, and there's many different places where people are listening to. No one's pretty much listening to the same thing as their neighbor anymore. Just isn't happening. When we get song requests and we get, or they're like, hey, we love this type of music, and you get that, and you're like, okay, for a wedding reception dance, how do you handle those situations where there is something that is just not going to work? And it doesn't count if you say that you just followed up with Huey Lewis to bring everyone back to the dance floor. Even though that is technically accurate, you don't want to cheat all the time. You want to be able to handle it. Okay, so how do you handle the weird music things that may not function or may not fly?
Dan, you want that one, or you want me to take?
I'm still reveling over John's comment, so go ahead.
I at a groom, loved heavy metal, loved speed metal. Slipknot was his favorite band, and he wanted to hear Slipknot. They're an Iowa-based band. That's where I live at, so they're very, very popular. And I was like, man, I'd love to play that for you. I will play it at the end of the night, maybe like the last 2-3 songs, and your buddy's out there, If I come out the gate with it or play it any time of the evening, and Uncle are probably just gonna leave, or gate. I like to play fun, safe, happy stuff that everybody knows. Not Huey Lewis, but other type artists and stuff that make it and then make it fun and enjoyable, and even new stuff that you may not know is already, but it's gonna be trending shortly. But Slipknot, yeah, and Conway Twitty, I can't know.
Well, you went from one extreme to the other, right?
Right. Well, it's when I talked about Johnny Cash earlier, so I didn't want to drop him again. So
yeah,
that's okay. So one of the things that we get into is exactly these weird requests, and I haven't had anybody kind of go in that direction with it. Oftentimes, what I tend to run into has been a problem, has been artists who are only available through Spotify or YouTube. There's no place to download their music legally that I found. There's been some artists in the past where I feel like, oh, okay, they're on Spotify or they have a YouTube spot. No, in their description it says to purchase their song, go to their website, and you can, pay $30 and you get their one song, whatever. But I've recently been running into some more where the only place to have it is through YouTube or through Spotify, and I beat my head against the wall in some of these, and I've had to go to a lot of my couples and be like, listen, here's my golden rule. I've got to be able to own the song. I've got to be able to download it and have it to play for you. And if I can't get that someplace and reaching out to the artist doesn't help, I don't know what I can do. And a lot of them, when I've told them that, they're like, okay, we weren't really sold on this song. It was just kind of a cool version that we found. And so we wanted to be different. There's the key. We want to be different. So we'll find another one. And they usually come back with another one, and it's one that I can find and download. One of my biggest problems has been a lot of that. I've got my subscription services, which is like, for the longest time, it's like I'm golden. I don't really have to go much outside that box. And now I'm having to go outside that box a lot because of these songs that they want for the ceremony. Usually it's ceremony, dinner, or cocktails that they're wanting these more unusual versions. We'll call it unusual versions.
Yep. Covers from a variety of different bands, and people basically are getting started on YouTube is where most of them, in my experience, have been coming from.
Yeah. And so a lot of that conversation with them is trying to help paint the right picture for everybody, and trying to also kind of say, listen, what are you looking for? Are you looking for, for example, and if somebody had asked me with the Slipknot, okay, let me ask you a question. When that song comes on and you're hearing this, do you go out there and dance? And is that a song that people dance to in your crowd? And sometimes what you'll get is, yeah, that was our fraternity song, or that was a sorority song. And we might not dance, but we're going to like sing it. And we're going to get together. We're going to really feel the energy. And it's like, okay, great. And the answer is like, no, we just like to sit around and drink a few beers to that song. Great. But then let's not put it during dancing time.
Yeah.
Let's find another time where you can hear whatever song it is that you're wanting that's not going to affect your dance floor, if that's that's what we're trying to achieve with that. And that can kind of paint the better picture for them. I don't know if that fully answered your question, John, or not. I feel like I started down the path and then flipped around.
No, there were some good some little tidbits in there. That was good.
Okay.
Of course, you didn't answer the question, but anyway,
that's what I thought. Because as I started, I was like, after Cubby talked, I'm like, John threw me off. I really don't know if I answered the question or if I made my own question up.
It's a night of derailment, I think.
Yeah, we're doing well.
Squirrel?
Yeah, we've had some good information out there so far. But I think one of the areas that I've struggled with is when I've had couples that have had a very elaborate list and pick from these. I think it happened twice. 40, 50, 60 songs, whatever it was. It was a long list, and these are the songs we want. And it really became a question of, okay, so why these songs? What are the significance behind this group of songs? And some of it was that these were songs that they just would go and they would drink and have a good time to. They were more modern versions, newer versions of covers, or they were covers of older songs. And it's like, okay, that's great. Now, where were you envisioning, and kind of a variation of what you were saying, Dan, is where were you envisioning these being played? Sometimes they're like, we really don't care. We just want to have them played sometime during the night. We're sliding into the cocktail hour where a lot of them can be played, and they'll fit wonderfully because most people aren't paying that much attention to it, and yet they'll hear some, oh yeah, there's our song right there. We're good. It's the problem I struggle with is when they're like, oh yeah, that'll go during the dance, and there's like, okay, what? No, this is like a sad slow song where they're going to kill someone or something, or it's really not a good thing. It's like the theme song from Ozark. Who wants to listen to that? I don't know. So it becomes a struggle. And I think the why, coming back to that is a big part of that. And sometimes you can head things off, put things in a proper place. And then there's times where you're just going to have to do your best to set it up and roll with whatever happens with it.
Yeah, that's gonna be key. Is just kind of, and I've heard some DJs use the whole, well, this one's going out for Bobby and Susie. This was their favorite song with their buddies, whatever, and like play off that, like that's where the song came from. That's why you're playing this bad request, and I get the mentality behind that, because you're so afraid that somebody's going to hear that song and think this DJ is stupid. Why would they ever do that? And I think there is a way to set that up in a nice way that can kind of work. But I think it's also important to just be ready for it and be ready that it might actually succeed. Like I've had some songs like that over the years where they put that request in, and I'm holding off and I'm holding off and I'm holding off, hoping that they'll just forget about it. And then they come up and they go, wait, by the way, don't forget to play that song. And you play it. And they rush the floor and they dance, and you're going, I wouldn't even thought about anybody dancing to this. And you're turning this into the best song of the night. Those moments can happen.
That's a Mr. Brightside. That's a Mr. Brightside moment at high school dances. I mean, what? You want what played? And oh yeah, could you play it? Do you know the song? It's an older song. You may not know it. No, I'm too young to know that. But yeah, that was exactly what that was. Is that, and you tried it, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was the best song of the night. Kids, crazy.
Yeah, that's actually where sometimes there's more. You mentioned about the student dances. That tends to be actually where there's more like, really, like I came prepared to play this in currents, and you're having me going all the way over there for that song. let's give it a shot. And a lot of times it comes from some trend somewhere that you didn't even know about. It was, some viral thing among their friends, and then it's suddenly like grabs. Or, a lot of times what I found, and if you want to do your homework and kind of beat it to the punch, find out the play or the musical that the school did that year and be ready to have those songs ready to go, because they will get requested. Or if you can beat them to the punch, you'll be like, everybody will go nuts, and they'll be like, how'd you know to play that? Because I did my homework and the dog didn't eat it.
And you find out that they did the world's worst musical that spring. No.
Yeah.
It was only
like
good.
Cats or something.
It was only good the year that they did Mamma Mia. Otherwise, it's terrible. Well, gentlemen, it is time for us to wrap up. Tonight's show is, of course, sponsored by a lot of the sponsors down below in the comment section down below. One of our big sponsors for DJNTV is our good friends at DJ Event Planner. And if you guys want to check out any of them, click their links. They are down there. If you are wanting to kind of help support DJNTV, you can go out to idjna.org. That is our spot where we have set up a nonprofit that helps to cover the cost of the creating the educational content we do here on DJNTV. Our next virtual expo is going to be coming up. You can go to djntv.com/virtual expo. It's coming up the last February, Monday in February. It's 27th, I believe it is the night. That will be our next one. We're going to be talking performance, and we've got, let's see, I've got Mike Walter, Jim Cerrone, Rachel Lynch, Stephanie Rivkin, Chris Washburn, Bill Herman will be there. I think I got a couple more. Thomas Heath is going to do a spot. And I know I'm forgetting a couple. So we've got a really big lineup for you guys for that night. And they're going to be giving some tips and such for your 2023 performances, things that they used in 2022 and are honing and getting ready for a big 2023. So should be kind of a fun night, and that will be coming up in February on the 27th. So, yeah. I think that's about it, guys. I think we need to wrap up and send them to Howie.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your Monday night to join us, or if you're watching this in the replay, whatever that time is, we do appreciate you taking time to join John, Cubby, and myself. Have yourself a great night. Have an awesome start to your new year, and we'll see you next time.